Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Tom Miller here, and I'm really excited to spend a little bit of time with you today. I haven't been on here a lot. A lot of great things have happened over the summer, but I wanted to kind of catch you up and take you through some of the things that I have learned since we last spoke to each other. Um, since June, since June, my life has changed a great deal. A lot of great transformational opportunities. And so, really, what I wanted to share with you was about writing goals. 5 years ago, I wrote down goals. I read this book called Go Out and Make a Mess, right? And so it's a great book. It's by one of my mentors, Bradley Galbraith. But in it, like, he really, really pushes you to envision what you want your life to be down the road. And I'm like, oh, I've never really done a lot of vision kind of, creating. Um, but I really want to take the time because, you have to live life through a definite purpose, right? There's one thing I've learned if you've read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that's the secret, right? Is having a definite purpose and being really clear on what you want to the point where you can say it out loud, you can share it out loud, you can see it and you can feel it. And eventually you'll manifest it in your life. And I'm going to prove to you that this can actually happen. Because it's happened, to me. And so I'm at the point now where I really need to go back through and take an audit and take that next step. But one of my 5 life goals that I wrote down was to live like a tourist. I wanted to explore the world. So if you've ever been with me out to eat or something, you'll know I usually don't order my own food. I ask, the waiter or the waitress, say, if you were only going to come here one time, what would you eat? And it doesn't matter where I am, whether in my town that I live in, right, or I'm out and about, I'm always trying to find something new. But one of the goals, my family loves baseball. My wife really in particular loves it. I played, a ball my whole life. I played a little bit of college baseball. And so it's our goal to see all of the Major League Baseball stadiums. So this started pre-COVID 2019. We went to Toronto and we went and saw the Yankees play the Blue Jays at the Sky Dome, and that kind of kicked us off, right? Okay, hey, what if we were to see all the stadiums? Because we got to see Toronto, we got to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. My daughter got to eat, the French fries with the cheese on. I can't think what it's called. Oh, anyway, but it was so huge for them. Tim Hortons, place in the ice. I mean, everything was great, right? So it was like, hey, this goes right into my living like a tourist, right? I want the opportunity to travel and to be able to honestly do my work from anywhere, right? And so this past June, we spent 3 weeks in California. We went to we flew and we started in San Diego, and we spent the time driving from south to north, and we stopped and we saw a baseball game in San Diego, and then next we were in Los Angeles, and we saw the Angels and the Dodgers. And then we went to a Giants game, and we went, to the A's. So we saw all 5 in that time. Now, we had already actually earlier this year, I didn't even share, but we went to the Braves opening night in Atlanta, and then we went and saw a Mets game in New York City. The same weekend we saw Billy Joel, which is a whole other story if you've heard any of those previous lessons where I talked about persistence. But 4 times the Billy Joel show was canceled on us, but we got there. So we've seen 7 games just this year. So now we have 19 of the 32. I think there's 32 stadiums. And all that's amazing. And sharing VR PPOs and cars and everything. I mean, all that's great experience. But what I want to really express here is this. I was able to spend a whole month away from work. A whole month. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't do little things here and there. I did some writing. I did some, planning for the upcoming year, but I wasn't working. And last June, we spent in the south of France. And so when I wrote this goal down, that was not even possible to spend 3 or 4 weeks away. First of all, financially, it wasn't possible. And it wasn't possible time-wise because I was like, oh, I just can't take that time away. And so what I realized is that when I wrote the goal, I didn't understand that the purpose of the goal was not to see all the baseball stadiums. It was not to spend 3 weeks in the south of France. The purpose of when you write a goal is to grow into the person who can now make that goal not just a reality, but a habit. Let me keep going, right? So the second goal here that I wrote down was that my kids would not have the same burden that I did. They would not graduate college with debt. And I graduated with about $125,000 to $150,000 in student loan debt. I don't even know what the exact number was because it was just crazy. It's obnoxious, and a lot of it was from stupid tax. Now, there was a time that I never thought possible that I would be debt free. In fact, why would I want to be debt free, right? I mean, we're all Americans, and this is just a way, right? We all just learned that using credit cards is just a normal way of living. That's what I thought. But when I wrote down this goal to be debt free, my kids not to be burdened by debt, I was in significant debt when I wrote that down, and I had no idea how I was going to get out of it until I made a plan. Until I met Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey helped me. He gave me a strategy that works. Now, at first, I'm like, this plan is crazy, and I can't follow it 100%. I don't have that, gazelle-like intensity, Dave. Like, I like to live like a tourist, and I like to have fun, and I like to live my life. But what it gave me was a framework and some core principles of who I needed to become in order to be debt-free. Who I needed to become. I hope you're catching this. The purpose of the goal is not necessarily to achieve the goal. It's to grow into the person that can live out the reality of that goal. Now, most of you know, when did we do it? It was in 2022. We went on Dave Ramsey's show and did our debt-free scream. So it's been over a year now. We're still debt-free. Right? We're still debt-free. And even, yes, when we went to California and we did all those baseball stadiums, I did actually use a credit card, so I'd be hypocritical to say that I didn't. But I used the card so I wouldn't have to have all this cash, because Dave says you have to work in cash. But we paid the entire thing off that month, right? So we had the cash. We just used the credit card to protect ourselves, right? So I don't want to be hypocritical and say I don't have them. I have them for my business, and I had them for my personal life. It still exists, but I have cash. I got cash to pay for all those things. I didn't have cash before. I didn't have any cash. I had no money before. I was living paycheck to paycheck, which I don't know. I think it's like 86 to 89% of people live paycheck to paycheck, and that's how I lived for a long time. And I was kind of happy living that way until I got challenged. See, because when you want more, when you want to do more and achieve more and have more, something has to change. Something has to change. And guess what that is? Well, in this case, me. I had to change. I had to change what I spent my money on. I had to change my strategy in terms of where money went after I was paid through my business, right? I was paying myself. Everything over the last 9 years of my life, every dollar has come through the ownership of my business. And I've talked, I didn't know how to run a business, right? I've had to learn all the way. Now this is our 9th year in operation, and we're really, hitting some really great, goals and making some significant impact. And I'll say, I don't mean this to impress, but my, salary's never been higher. I never made this much as an employee for someone else. You see, if you want to to be and do and have more, the change has to begin with you. You can't just write down a goal and say, okay, it's going to happen, right? We don't get what we want in life. We get who we are in life. And I didn't realize that. Even when I wrote these goals, I had heard some things. My mentor was talking into me about these things, but I didn't know what he was talking about. I'm still learning this every day, is that we don't get what we want. We get who we are. What is it that you're trying to achieve? I mean, almost every single day I spend some time on social media, and I'm in these principal groups, and there's people talking about, oh, I'm exhausted, I just can't do it anymore, and I can't get out of my office. I say, well, you get what you fight for. What are you fighting for? You see, that's the same challenges I had. In my first years as a principal in 2009, 10, and 11, I was out of control. I was emotional. I was a workaholic. I was chained to the desk. I was a giant egomaniac who knew it all, right? And I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. I was a fraud. Now, you ask my staff, and they'll say I was a good leader, and that's really kind of them. But I was not a good leader. I wasn't a person of very good character. I talked bad about people. I complained down. I did things that I shouldn't have done, mainly because I didn't know, or I knew but I didn't know. Right? See, there's this giant gap in life. It's the biggest gap that you have. It's the gap between what we know and what we do. Like, now I know it was not good to talk about other people and gossip, and right, but I didn't follow it. And that's what was actually creating bad culture. You see, as a leader, you're responsible for the results. You're responsible for your own results. You can't blame the government or circumstances or whatever. You are responsible for your results. Now, when I say you, I'm talking to the man here in the mirror that I'm looking at in the screen. That's Tom Miller. You can take that any way you want. I'm not shooting on you. Shooting on people is bad. But if you are interested, if you have an inkling, if you have a desire to live a more empowered life, I've learned the framework. I follow the framework for every aspect of my life now. My health, my wealth, my relationships, my professional side, my personal side. Everything I've done, I work through this framework now. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it with you. This is my goal sheet. I wrote this 5-6 years ago, working on it every day, right? So, remember, the purpose of the goal is not to achieve the goal. It's to become, right? Stop being a human doing, be a human being, right? Become the person, right, who lives with that goal is now norms, right? It's just within their piece. So I wrote down health and wealth and faith, relationships, personal, professional, recreational, all these pieces. You see, I mean, when I had this big goal to see all the Major League Baseball stadiums, I didn't take any time off of work. I was like, oh shoot, if I only want to work, 180 to 190 days, if I only really want to work half of my year, I've got to block off things off my calendar. And now you'll look at the Leaders Building Leaders calendar on every Friday, it's blocked off. Now, does it mean we don't work on Fridays? Occasionally it happens. We try to avoid it. We try not to have any meetings. But I don't expect my team to do anything on Fridays unless we're in a pinch. Those were steps I had to take. The month of June, I said, all right, we're done. June 15th, right? Or June 9th, whatever. As soon as my kids got done school in June, boom, business closed. 3 weeks. Really 4, right? Because you have the whole first week of July. You see, before, like, I would build the vacation into work. You see where I'm going? Like, you've got to make room for it. I wasn't being the person. I was just writing things down. I didn't even think about it. I was like, holy cow. If I want to take these vacations, where are they on my calendar? There's two important places that will show up when you want to achieve a goal: your date book and your checkbook. So not only where were they all on my calendar, how was I saving up them? Because I'm going to stay debt free. I'm not going to go into debt to go on vacation. I had to build a separate account. I had to start really thinking about, well, how much money is it going to cost? I didn't have any clue what it was going to cost to spend a few weeks in California, renting a car, VRBO to VRBO, eating out pretty much every night, gas, baseball tickets. Who would have thought? You could guess. It was, I don't know, somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000, somewhere around there. I didn't track it. You know why? Didn't matter. Because I had the money. I'd already saved up the money. And again, this works for everything. Health, wealth, faith, relationships, personal, professional, right? I set a goal. This is what I want to achieve. I envision it like I've done it. I envision myself at the baseball stadiums. I envisioned our family, right, having close meals every day in our VRBO. One of the VRBOs, it had a pool and it had like this really cool outdoor, it was a staycation. Loved it. Loved every moment of it. Right? I envisioned the goal. I wrote it down. I physically wrote it down. It's still here. And then I found a mentor. Like with any goal, you want to, well, who's doing this? Who's a good person for you to learn from? Who can help you, right? And some of these mentors you may never actually talk to. Some are in your life and some are not. It doesn't matter. Find somebody who is more successful than you and follow them. Follow them. Find out what they're doing. What's their framework? Observe them. Learn from them. Read about them. Listen to their podcasts. Whatever it may be. And for me, there's Dave Ramsey, Paul Martinelli, John Maxwell, Roddy Galbraith, all of these thought leaders that were in my life, or some of them I have direct access to, and some I don't. Yeah, I've met Dave Ramsey, but I've talked to Dave Ramsey twice now, once on the phone, debt-free scream, and once in person at a conference. But just listen to him. He's talking to me every day in a podcast. And you don't have to like Dave Ramsey. I don't care who you follow. But there's a reason that they're more successful than I am. And I want to know. I want to study success. I want to study success. So set the goal, get the mentor. Now, once you've got the mentor in place and you learn, then you have to write down your strategy. What's the strategy I'm going to follow here, right? What's the framework that they have that I'm going? If you're in Dave Ramsey, he's got the baby steps, the 7 baby steps. What's the framework that they do to get here? All right. So once you got the strategy, right, then you're going to implement. You got to start applying it, whatever it is, and you're going to fail. It's going to be miserable because at first, see, here's the thing. Here's what we don't always realize is that we try to just jump right into it, and we haven't actually set the framework for it yet. And then we fail, right, with any exercise program. Excuse me, or anything that we do. We fail at first. It hits us in the face. And we go, oh, it doesn't work. Dave Ramsey's plan doesn't work. You're right, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for you because you're not following it. You consumed it. You may have read the book, but you're not applying it in your life. You got to apply and you got to make adjustments. And when I'm saying make adjustments, it's like if you're going to bring things into your life, you have to take something out of your life. Everything needs space to breathe. You can't just keep adding more to your plate. You can't keep adding more to the cup. The cup will fall, it'll flow over, all right? So you got to make adjustments, right? So everything that's in your life that's going to help you achieve the goal, keep doing it. Anything that's in your life that's not going to help you achieve the goal, hug it, thank it, and let it go. Stop doing it. You'll find out whether it's important. Someone will tell you. Someone will tell you. You'll get a notice in the mail. I just got a notice in the mail about something. I was like, oh, shoot, we should have been taking care of it because we moved. I didn't even talk about our move. We moved from North Carolina to Florida. Now I live where I vacationed. I love it. All right, so goal, mentor, strategy, right? Apply. And you're going to learn here, make adjustments, right? And you're going to celebrate along the way until it starts to become a habit. And here's a great example. My sister, my wife, and now my brother-in-law and I, we've been doing these 30-day challenges. It's got to be like 5 or more years now, right? Every 30 days, someone picks something. So like last month, Pete, my brother-in-law, he chose a step challenge. You know, it starts with like 5,000 a day, but it got up to like 16,000 steps. And I'm like, how the heck am I gonna get 16,000 steps in my day? It's like, well, I need to be intentional, right? So I wake up pretty much every day at 4:30, and sometimes I vegetate on the couch for 20, 30 minutes. I'm like, well, I can't. So now I was like, all right, these change in habits. If you haven't read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, it's a huge, great resource. And I've done some podcasts on it. But micro habits, right? He's like, we got to make minor changes. So I was like, okay, that's one change. Like when I get up at 4:30, I need to change my clothes and go outside and just start walking, right? So if I'm vegetating on social media, I can do it as I walk, right? Or I can listen to podcasts as I walk. And I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to do it. I hate it. I'm like, all right, I gotta put my clothes out. I gotta get my shoes there so they're right there, right? So as soon as I get up there, I just go. And so like these little changes per day, right, made the 16,000 steps easier. And I actually started to run instead of walk. And I haven't run for years. And I used to, complete marathons every year with my sister. And I just hated running again. But now I'm liking it again, right? So these little challenges, right, help you build into it. Now the challenge is over. Well, this morning I got up and I ran. I went to the beach and I ran. I ran for 45 minutes. And I feel good, right? So these little things in life that I weren't there before, right? They weren't there 2 months ago. They were welcomed back, right? I welcomed it back. I welcomed in the challenge. I made an adjustment. I started to do it, right? Because, the point is not to just do the 30-day challenge. It's now to hopefully build these habits in your life. And walking 30 minutes a day is great. It's one of the easy steps. If you want to lose weight, 30 consecutive minutes of some sort of activity. Doesn't matter what it is. Guarantee it'll work. Guaranteed. 30 minutes, right? It's the whole move more, I can't remember. Move more, eat less. Oh, I'll have to think. Hit a popping. But it's a program that I took years ago. That's how I lost 40 pounds years ago, and I've kept that weight off. And now I'm moving back towards that goal that I had set a while ago to get back to under 185. I was 186 this morning. I'm right there. So, but I have to keep that going. Okay, so I got off track there, but whatever you want to achieve, you have to start to build in these micro habits, right? And you have to start moving things into your life that are going to fulfill your goal, and you have to move things out that won't, whatever those pieces are, right? So the path of more, I wrote this down, the path of more is not sustainable without becoming what you are not, right? So like I won't be able to continue this goal to be under 185 pounds unless I continue to do that 30 minutes, right? So the path of more is not sustainable without becoming what you are not. 40 days ago, I was not a daily walker. 40 days ago, I was not running. Now I am starting to be this person again, this runner, this active person, because I have a goal. My goal is to have better health. It's to get off all my cholesterol medicine. It's to sustain this weight, right? And so I'm watching it. I'm watching my weight, and I'm making the adjustments on a daily basis to make sure I can sustain it, because just being 185 for a day is not what I want. I want to sustain 185, and then I'm going to get under 180, right? So it's 5 pounds at a time. But I got to sustain it. I got to sustain what I'm doing now, because that's what helped me get there. Are you catching this, everybody? So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a principal, if you're a teacher, if you're a director, if you're a business owner, whatever goal you want, the habits that you need to put into your life to now make that a goal. So if you want to have the highest performing academic school in the area, well, gosh darn it, your habits need to show that. That means you need to get into classrooms. You need to be giving teachers feedback. You need to make sure that your education plan is clear and you've trained everybody up. All these things need to fit in your schedule. Filling out the paperwork for some report is not going to help you get there. It's going to help you be compliant, sure. And it's going to help achieve someone else's goal in central office, sure. But it's not going to help your school get better. Someone needs to be in the classroom. Someone needs to be thinking about what's happening between the four walls. Someone needs to be checking on the data. Someone needs to be doing these things. Who is that person? If you're not building the time to coach and lead and develop your people into your calendar, putting it on your calendar and actually doing it, your school is not going to get there. It's just not. It's not going to happen on its own. Your teachers aren't going to rally all together without you to do it. I can guarantee it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right? So, how do you need to challenge yourself? What's the 30-day challenge that you can put into play? For me, it's I put things on my calendar. I've got my observations on my calendar. So when my calendar goes off, I get out of my chair and I go. And I'm spending more time in classrooms. And because I'm spending more time in classrooms, we're getting better academic results. We're having less discipline issues, right? And now I'm at a point where I'm only in the classroom, but I'm also starting to give feedback. I want to give teachers feedback. And I want to give, right now it's kind of generic feedback because we're just in our first couple of weeks, but I want to start giving intentional feedback. So I've got to start building all of these pieces in, because 25 days ago, I wasn't doing observations. I was just doing work. It's not going to help my school grow. I have to change. For things to change, I have to change. I have to change. So what are you trying to achieve? Not being exhausted. Identify what is creating your exhaustion. What's creating your exhaustion? Is it the lack of execution of your team? Is it parent complaints? Something's causing your exhaustion. Is it lack of sleep on yours? Is it lack of a bad diet? What is causing your exhaustion? You got to identify it and you got to root it out. And you have to make a personal change so it doesn't happen anymore. You can't just quit on it, because even if you quit on it, that exhaustion is going to follow you to your next job. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I was chained to the desk for years. I got it. I hear you. Now I have awareness. Now when I feel that exhaustion coming, I root out those things. I ask myself, what role do you have in this problem, Tom Miller? What are you going to do differently tomorrow, Tom Miller? What conversation do you need to have tomorrow? What system do you need to rebuild? You got to root it out. And you got to mind the gap. And I'm going to finish with this, mind the gap. 2 gaps. I've already talked about one, the gap between what you know and what you do. We all know how to be thin. We all know how to be healthier. We all know how to be more effective leaders, because I can just read every book or Google something or use chat, GTP, it'll tell me how to do it. I know how to do it. But doing it, it's the gap between what we know and what we do. Then I got to apply, and I got to make room for it, and I got to make adjustments for it, and I got to keep even when I don't want to do it. And some days maybe I can only walk for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can do jumping jacks for 5, or I can't get in the gym for the whole time, but I can do something that's good. And maybe tomorrow, my goal is 30 minutes, but then, life happens and I can only do 19 minutes. Okay, well, that's better because it's better than yesterday. And then but my best is 30. If I can do 30 consecutive minutes of some sort of cardiovascular exercise, that is going to help me not only, sustain my goal, but it's going to take me to a whole another level, because motivation gets you going, but consistency keeps you growing, everybody. You can't just do it until you've achieved the goal. Keep growing, right? Take that next step. So that's the first part of the gap. And the second part of the gap is to build gaps in your time, wedges, right? In your time. And so this, stop running from Zoom to Zoom meeting. Stop running from meeting to meeting. You're actually hurting yourself, and you're not allowing your mind to reduce and refresh and recuperate in between, the meetings. So you have to mind these gaps in your life. You have to make sure that, hey, if a meeting ends at 2:45, my next meeting can't occur until 3, because I need some time, right? I need some time to decompress and process and write down and reflect what just happened before I hop into the next meeting. Because the next thing that it's 4:30, and you're like, oh my God, I got to go home and I got to cook dinner, or I got to get my kid, or whatever it may be. Start building margins and gaps in your day. Start building them in your week, in your month, and in your year. That's what I did when I started just shutting down on Fridays, and shutting down the month of June, and just shutting down after December 15th. There was these gaps of times, like I needed that time, right? Those were long, big, chunks. And then the other piece is, talking to our team about how we schedule things and where we schedule things. And I just saw this quote in this book I'm reading, A Minute to Think. It's really great. Julie Funk, I think is her last name. But she said, stop trying to squeeze everything into a tiny space, right? Stop trying to do what's illogical. And mind those gaps, right? Build those margins. So, all right. I think that's good for now. Okay? So here's what you're going to do. First thing you're going to do is you are going to really sit down and reflect. What am I trying to achieve here, right? What is it? What would success look like and feel like? And just take a couple minutes and write it down. It doesn't have to be a SMART goal. It doesn't have to be a perfect goal. What is it that you really want, right? And then start looking at your calendar. Be like, all right, what do I need to do on a daily basis to make this happen? Now, it might not be that you can get to it every day. Maybe that's 30 days from now, but you can get to at least maybe one part tomorrow, okay? So maybe I don't have 30 minutes, maybe I got 5, right? So you're going to think big, your big goal, but you're going to start small, okay? Because you have to be gracious with yourself, right? So, okay, what things in my life serve this goal, and what things in my life don't serve this goal anymore? This is going to be maybe the hardest exercise, but you have to start eliminating things from your life so you can build in the new. Find a mentor. A lot of you are already in our empowerment mentoring program. If you're not, there's a link here. I'll make sure the link's in the notes, and you can join. So this is a great opportunity for you to have someone else pour into your life through positive thoughts and lessons and frameworks and support. And I'm happy to be that person for you. I've got lots of stories I could share about where I screwed up, right? And I'm here to help you. So you could join that if you're not if you don't have a personal growth plan in your life. You need one. And so we have one for you, right? So there's a link here if you're interested. But so I've set my goal. I'm going to build space to make it welcome. I'm going to start eliminating things that don't serve me. I'm going to find that mentor or that guru or that framework, right? I'm going to build that strategy in my life, and I'm going to start applying that strategy. I'm going to use a good, better, best model, okay? I might not be able to be a best at this point, but I'm going to start with something. right? These little tiny micro habits I'm going to change, and I'm going to start navigating and adjusting my way and celebrating every little successful piece along the way. I guarantee if you start doing that, you're going to start seeing some significant results in 30 days. In 90 days, if you continue, you have now created new positive habits in your life that you can just keep growing and accelerating all the way to your goal. So, hope this is helpful for you. Looking forward to seeing you on the next call. And if you're not part of our personal growth environment program, the Empowerment Mentoring, click the link and come on in and become a member for it's like 30 cents a day. So I think you are worth the investment. Bye-bye.